watching in the news.
Dinosaurs. We all know that dinosaurs existed. There's no question about that. But when did they exist? Was man with them during that time? And did Adam and Eve see a dinosaur? And why would God want a dinosaur in Eden? I mean, don't we want like nice birds and nice friendly animals? Why we don't need alligators?
Jerry's seen Jurassic Park too many times.
Right. I don't want to see.
I love those movies.
But anyway, because there's a fossil that has challenged the evolutionary timeline, which is so interesting because we've talked about this before on the show about how there are certain archaeological finds that are showing that, maybe the Bible is telling the truth. And now, maybe we're here, maybe that we got a shroud. That could be, maybe Jesus did exist. And all of these, not that we need to, as Christians, not that we need to have these, things that make us strengthen our faith or convince us, but it does strengthen our faith, I suppose. There are others who might not agree. But here we're talking about dinosaurs that apparently were in existence at the time of man. Well, first of all, I'm Jerry O'Lennon. This is Pastor Alfredo Romero and Pastor Tim Rule.
I was back with the dinosaurs.
Pleasant Valley
I'm the
Church.
old man here, right? Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I'll make this. I'll get right to the point. They had a discovery near the Paluxy River in Texas, close to Dinosaur Valley State Park. While searching along the riverbank, this man found a loose slab of rock containing a well-preserved dinosaur footprint. He took the fossil home, unaware of what was underneath its surface. For years, the slab remained in his collection until recently, when a severe accident left him in financial need. He was going to sell the piece of his because he needed some money. While cleaning the rock for the sale, he made a shocking discovery. Beneath the dinosaur print was a fossilized human footprint, meaning that apparently that there was a man was there during the times of dinosaurs, or that man preceded dinosaurs is what it means. Because a lot of people think just the opposite. There were dinosaurs walked the earth, and then man happened to evolve. And so, tell us about dinosaurs. Why would God even create dinosaurs? That's the hardest question. I don't understand.
I don't know. Why did he create a duck-billed platypus?
Exactly right.
Whatever. God will create what he wants. But here's the thing. A lot of people think of dinosaurs, and what we're told by media is that they're billions of years ago.
Right, they're not.
Yeah, and then here's what the Bible says. The Bible talks about leviathans. It talks about sea creatures. It talks about the great behemoth with a tree like a cedar tree. And so the Bible definitely describes what we would say dinosaurs. But the term dinosaur, that didn't start till the late 1800s, which means terrible lizard. Before that, what we would describe were dragons, and they would call them sea serpents. And here's the interesting thing. I'll try to get to the point on this. There are so many civilizations from one continent to the other that in their art, there's always a depiction of some type of what we would call a dinosaur. South America, there's images that were found in slabs that were thousands of years old that resemble Triceratops and Diplodocus and even a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And the Mayan culture, even in Egyptian culture and in Indian culture, Native Americans, there's images. Now, I'm pretty sure back then there wasn't a phone call. Hey, guys, I got an idea. Why don't we just write these? They weren't sharing artwork thousands of years ago across the seas and the oceans.
Okay.
So it's just very interesting. Like every civilization worshipped something and worshipped an altar or something, a totem pole or something. That dinosaurs are images of what the Bible calls leviathans or great behemoths are virtually in almost every culture. So, yeah, I believe that they walked with man because that's what the Bible says.
Once again, I'll go back to the Bible in the very first book, Genesis, in the first 2 chapters when God created the earth. The Bible talks about creating the light and the day, creating the seas and then the land, then creating plant life, and then creating animal life, and then creating human life, So God created all that within the first 6 days, literal 6 days of creation.
Yes.
7th day, God chose to rest and to look at his creation. And so man walked on the earth within the first 6 days with dinosaurs, with animals we know somewhat today. And then they say, well, where all are the dinosaurs now? And if you go just right through history after the 6th chapter of the Bible, there was a great flood upon the earth that God caused because of the waywardness of man. And so there was an ark that was built, and 2 of each animal was put on the ark.
But not were dinosaurs put on there?
They were there. And so, in fact, it's kind of neat if you go to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. I've been there a few times because I like to take my kids and grandkids. But when they took the dinosaurs, they showed the dinosaurs in the cages on the Ark. And so we see some of these things that, well, this dinosaur is as big as the Ark. Well, the babies they had weren't as big as the Ark.
Yeah.
And so they would take the youngest of the dinosaur species. And I don't know exactly, someone will correct me, I'm sure. But I think there's only like 10 different species of dinosaurs.
Yes, Dave, excuse me, I'm sorry, just to interject for a second.
Yep.
There are definite records and scientists that say a lot of these dinosaurs that they come with are totally just made up. That there really wasn't just dozens and dozens and dozens of species of dinosaurs.
Right.
They would take one bone fragment and then create what they think that bone
Oh,
fragment
wait a
looked
minute.
like.
That Steven Spielberg movie tells me there's a lot of different types of dinosaurs.
No. Even the last movie, they had to like genetically alter to create new species.
And I was thinking too, when you're right, they probably brought baby dinosaurs. They could have brought in eggs of the dinosaur eggs, perhaps could have been put on there. And some of the, but then again, why didn't they survive after the flood?
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, and there were eggs because the Bible says they brought 2 of each animal because
Okay,
they wanted them
all right.
to procreate once they got upon the earth. Dinosaurs being the largest that they are, and at that time our world was like a terrarium, and we had like an enclosed atmosphere that was all I want to say water, humidity. It's like those greenhouses we make and we put all the greenery and stuff and everything grows. A rainforest. Well, dinosaurs, being large animals, need a lot of it. And so once the ark landed and now we had that terrarium is no longer there, but as God pierced the hydrosphere, and now we had sun, and now we had rays, and now we had harsher weather, and then these dinosaurs, which needed like a rainforest with all the consummation of food, just slowly went extinct, and they could no longer survive. So way back again, 6,000 years ago, those dinosaurs had then become extinct. And we got to see some of the fossils and so forth, but they were here, they were with mankind, they were on the ark, but after that they then went extinct.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, here's the other thing. I've actually studied this quite a bit. Another thing is if you look in cultures, especially like in Europe, and even in Asia, there's many depictions of battling dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They called them dragons. Dinosaurs, again, wasn't invented or that word wasn't come out until the late 1800s. But it's like in China and in Europe and countries in Asia, they always talk about in the ancient lore of defeating dragons. And if you look at them, and here's the interesting thing, the Chinese zodiac calendar, it has basically live, real animals, tigers, snakes, rabbits, horses, goats, and monkeys and pigs. And they also have a dragon. The only mythical creature, but all these animals really exist. So this was made thousands of years ago, and they have a dragon depicted. England, they talk about the knights slaying dragons. And then they find fossils that aren't very deep. So there's no transitional forms, right? But they'll dig deep and they'll find a dragon or fossil of a dinosaur and people, but there's no transitional forms. So chickens didn't evolve. Like some people said, well, chickens are the modern day dinosaur. Dinosaurs had feathers. I'm going, no, they didn't. So, but what I'm trying to say is that there is enough non-biblical evidence, if you want, to say that, yes, there was definitely giant reptiles. And that's what I wanted to say.
Well, that conjures up for me a memory. So my first introduction to dinosaurs was the Raquel Welch movie, Million Years BC.
Oh.
That was I was like, but what I remember besides Raquel Welch is I remember you'd see dinosaurs grabbing men by the head and chewing them all up, and it was like, oh, that's terrible. Were dinosaurs aggressive like that? Is there any way of knowing that, or were they? I don't know if we have any idea of even knowing that, do we?
I think that's a little more Hollywood than it is history.
Probably, it might be.
Yes. I can't say because I'm not a historian,
Right.
and I'm definitely not one of the ones that studies these dinosaurs all the time. But just like we have lions, well, when Adam and Eve were on the earth, the Bible even says, like the lion can lay down with the lamb. There was no sin in our world at that time, so animals got along, people got along. But now we see all this other stuff. So
You know what I like about discussions like this is that I do think discussions, I don't want to say outside the Bible, but discussions that people have of interest about things like this do draw people into the Bible, which they might not normally do.
oh, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the purpose of this show, was that things happen and we see something, we go, oh, the Bible does talk about dinosaurs. Oh,
Yes.
wait a minute, the Bible does talk about this topic or that topic. Almost any topic under the sun is related to our relationship with God, including dinosaurs.
No doubt. There's a writer today about leadership. His name is John Maxwell. And John Maxwell has a tremendous following about building leaders and CEOs and things like that. And he says, I'll have to say this, gentlemen, he goes, but all of my principles go back to my childhood days of reading and hearing the Bible. And he says, I know you don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. Every principle I have about true leadership comes from the God-man, Jesus Christ. And that's wonderful. And he's doing the same thing. He's pulling God into our present-day culture and society, and that's what these subjects do.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about were they fierce and all that. Well, the way they determined that was the type of teeth they had. Did they have teeth that would tear meat, or did they have flat teeth that could chew vegetables? So that's how they determined whether or not they were meat eaters.
And we still have them today in our society. You go, alligator Alcatraz.
Sure.
try the island of Komodo.
Right.
Those, they call them Komodo dragons. They're
Right.
huge.
Well, we're gonna take a break here. Rebel religion in the news. I'll be right back. I saw something that I don't know. I don't know if my cohorts here will find this interesting, but I do. So
Go ahead.
it's my show, so I'm going to
Knock
talk
it
about it.
Knock it out.
Tom Brady reacted to Scotty Scheffler's viral comments about part of the same pyramid. And maybe is he making a good point?
No.
Scotty Scheffler, the golfer, revealed that being the best golfer in the world is not, quote, what satisfies him. Really downplayed his accomplishments, said that he feels happiness for 2 minutes. He wins a big golf tournament, wins literally millions of dollars, and he's happy, but happiness comes and happiness goes. And he says, it's not a fulfilling life. I'm a golfer, the best in the world. It's fulfilling from a sense of accomplishment, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of the deepest places in your heart. And I think he was praised by, I think, many believers as saying that's actually true. But Tom Brady came out and said a little bit different and suggested that, and here's what Brady said, and I'll see if my guests agree with Brady. Remember, your children are watching everything. They see what you do in every aspect of your life and how you do it. Reading bedtime stories and helping them with homework are not the only ways to be a great parent. And neither is winning Super Bowls or MVPs. Being a great football player didn't make me a great dad, but how I became a great player certainly had an impact, from showing up day in and day out to doing whatever it took to get better, be successful, be a role model, and to provide. So I think they're both right. Are they both right?
Oh,
They both make good points.
I agree with you that being diligent, going to work every day, striving to be your best are great qualities to hand down. I don't know if Tom Brady is actually a believer, and to where you get to your pinnacle, Tom Brady may think to himself, I am the GOAT, the best quarterback ever, okay? Well, maybe Scheffler said this, I have a great God, and I'm glad I did this, but it's not the biggest thing in my life. God's the biggest thing in my life. So we have maybe one from a believer to one that maybe is still trying to figure out what is life. So I understand the difference there. I also understand what Brady is saying. Any athlete or anybody who's played ball for a period of time would realize that there is some greatness you feel when you just threw the touchdown pass, when you won the game, when you won the championship. There is a, wow, this is great. And it's true. But the next day is the next day.
Isn't so much of it, I think what Scheffler is trying to do is separate himself from his work being his identity. And that's a difficult thing to do. Men especially, and I know women too. I don't want to say both. They identify so much with what their work is, but I think that's especially true of men. Don't get mad at me. I think it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I kind of sense that. And I think what Scheffler is trying to say is, I don't want to be identified as Scotty Scheffler, great golfer. That's how the world will see him. What he's trying to say is there's more to my life, much more meaningful in my life than in my golf. And Tom Brady is trying to say, in my mind, he's trying to say, well, but part of my work is my identity, which leads to greater goods for helping my family in their lives. I don't know if that's explaining it right, but I'm not sure where I'm going with that. But I sense that Scheffler is trying to separate himself a little bit from his work. I don't know.
Yeah. Tom Brady is looking at things from a more secular, worldly perspective. Well, who I am is part of what I do and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And Scotty Scheffler's obviously going, hey, look, these are earthly treasures that are someday going to burn up. And when I get to heaven, when I pass away, they're going to go, oh, that's Scotty Scheffler. He won 6 majors. Come on in. Oh, Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. Oh, cut in front of Scotty. That stuff just doesn't matter. What matters is your relationship with Christ. So I understand what Tom Brady's saying. But Tom Brady never mentioned, it's also important what I do, but I get where Scotty's coming from because my relationship with Christ is the most important thing.
That would have been nice if you'd said that.
It would have been nice, but if you know people by their fruit, I don't want to assume, but
right.
Scotty Scheffler professes Christ, and I've never heard Tom Brady mention.
Right.
So I don't know.
So, Joe, I'd ask you a question. Do you have any trophies?
I do.
Okay. Like, do you invite people over to your house to see your trophies?
I don't invite them to see them. Okay. I have them hidden in an office upstairs. They're on the plaques. My kids see them. My wife sees them. But no, I don't. I feel very uncomfortable talking about accomplishments.
Okay, and see, there's a little difference right there. I like what I think Coach Lou Holt said about athleticism. He says, you can't get out what God did not put in. Mm-hmm. And he says, sure, I like talented players, and best teams will have talented players. No doubt about it. And the more talented players you have, the better your team will be. No doubt about that. But when he made that statement, you can't get out of someone what God did not put in. And so I'll say this, Brady and this golfer, they have been gifted with a good body. Mm-hmm. And I think the golfer realizes this is not just all me that made myself do this, all right? Mm-hmm. I could be like a basketball. I could be 4'7" and love basketball, but I'm probably not going to make it to the NBA.
Right.
So I think he gave recognition to I am who I am because that's who God created me to be, and that's where my identity is. I believe that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I was I'm 5'7", and I couldn't make the NBA either, and I was a pretty good basketball player. But the thing is that Scotty Scheffler, by the way, side note, I just saw Happy Gilmore 2 last night on Netflix, and Scotty Scheffler was in it. So were a whole bunch of past and current golfers. And I guess I'd recommend the movie because it wasn't as raunchy as the first one. It was actually a pretty decent movie, PG, so it's cool. But Scotty Scheffler was in it the whole time, and
really?
Yes, and I thought he actually did a pretty good acting job. So, but they also had like Lee Trevino.
Wow, back in the
day. Jack Nicklaus, it was kind of interesting. Who's the other ones? Fred Couples. But see, the point is this. I know them as golfers. Scotty Scheffler, I know him as a man of God.
Yes, that's exactly right. When I see Scotty Scheffler, I no longer see a golfer.
Neither do I.
I see a Christian and a good family man who loves his wife and he loves his children. That's the first thing I see now. When I see Scotty Scheffler, that's what I see.
Yep.
I love that about him.
Yes.
There's a great quote saying, humility is essential for blessings. And if we start taking the credit ourselves, I am this, I've done this, I accomplished this, God just says, okay, I'm done. Mm-hmm. Yet when we give God the praise and glory, he says, that's my boy, that's my boy. I think we need to have that relationship.
Boy, yeah, I have, Scotty Scheffler is my new favorite athlete right now.
Yeah.
And not because he's a great athlete. Completely opposite.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a psalm. I'm trying to remember which one it is. I don't know if it's Psalm 50. I'm trying to remember. You can help me with this, but there's a psalm that basically says the men of earth, the kings of earth, the rulers of earth, got to a point where they said, "You know what, God, I don't think we need you anymore." Okay, I'm paraphrasing, but it basically says that the men had no longer believed in their heart; they had no need for God, and it basically says God laughed, God mocked them for their belief that they didn't need Him at all.
Is that Psalm 1? Isn't that like the very first Psalm? First or second? It's one of the early Psalms where he talks about mocking. I'm pretty sure.
I have to look it up now.
I played Stump the Pastor. Rats.
It's not Psalm 1, but it talks about that. Blessed is man that walk in the counsel. He'll find it. It'd be good. I will say this to all of the listeners here, or however you get this, is that our emphasis is having that relationship with God and knowing God. And whether God gave you a good body or God gave you a maybe a very meticulous mindset, and so some are scholars, some are athletes, some are servants, some are helpers, but the recognition to know God and to say, I want to fulfill God's purpose in my life. That's what he says. I want to just follow me, and I'll teach you how to live life. So,
Amen. Yeah, actually, it's several Psalms. Psalm 2, 112 basically says, "Why do nations rage and the people plot in vain? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed." And basically it says, "He who sits in the heavens laughs. He holds him in derision." And then the same thing in Psalm 37, "But the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he sees that his day is coming." And then Psalm 59, "But you, O Lord, laugh at them. You hold them all the nations in derision." And those are the ones that separate themselves from God. They think they have the power. And then the point of this is this. You could be the greatest basketball player in the world, the greatest golfer, the greatest actor, the greatest whatever, painter, but without a relationship with God, that accounts for, you know what? Nothing. Zero.
You know what I liked about those Psalms is that God has a sense of humor.
Yeah, I like that.
Unfortunately, we're the butt of his jokes.
Yeah, I can imagine God looking at some of the politicians and these celebrities who deny God
Yeah.
and going, "Oh man, you guys just wait, man. The day's coming. I can't believe you guys think that."
Yeah.
But
one last thing, if I can bring up on this episode here, is that the hatred people have just one for another.
oh yeah,
And coming out, we saw the thing in Cincinnati, that beat down, whatever they want to call it, but how people responded to that. There's just so much animosity, and I think that our social media has given an avenue where everyone can do that. I mean, here's somebody in some unknown city in some whatever, and they get on there and they say, "I don't think this will be this way," and they got a voice. And it's too bad, because I think a lot of listeners all of a sudden hear that, do not know who that person is, do not know maybe the form they have, and yet they cause a lot of disruption. And the Bible says that Satan is good at two things. Number one, deception. He gets us to do things we would never do. And number two, accusations. And as soon as you accuse somebody, there's strife. As soon as you accuse somebody. I've had people accuse me. You've had people accuse you. All of a sudden it sets your spirit on edge. And for everyone listening, we've talked about dinosaurs, we talked about this and that, athletes and all the other stuff. But unless you have a relationship with God, it's going to be really hard to sort those things out. And if I would just really encourage everyone, like I mentioned, we had several teenage girls who just visited our church on a Sunday morning. And I simply asked the question, why did you come? And they said, "I want to have a relationship with God." Now, wise is that person? Maybe gullible right now, but wise that person that is seeking, I just want to know God. I hope that for everybody. I hope this show brings that to them also.
and Tom Brady.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for Pastor Tim Rule, Pleasant Valley Baptist Church. They have a service time 8, 9, and 10 o'clock Sunday morning over on Garner Lane down in the north part of Chico. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Great to be
and
here.
have a good rest of your day. Take good care and so long, everybody.